And welcome back to part 39 of Final Fantasy 15. Today we're tackling the best mission in Comrades, Departure. If you're wondering why we've gone from Comrades to the main game back to Comrades, it's because this is the next thing chronologically in the plot. This is after they've left Hammerhead and they're working towards the final campsite. Whilst in the plot, it just cuts to the final campsite. This mission was added with the Royal Edition with Comrades. And I had to do this mission 4 times in the end for a reason you'll see very shortly. But this mission in by itself is also pretty cool because it's embracing 4 of the main things you do in Comrades. Yeah, there's other objectives and other types of missions for sure, but the main 4 that you see a lot is defending yourself from waves of enemies, which is what this is, defending a moving truck or moving vehicle, which is what we're doing next, defending a stationary base, which is what we're doing third, or pushing towards a boss, which we'll be doing last. It's a really cool, nice, like almost wraparound mission for everything you've done to be the last thing you do after everything else. And we're starting out as Prompto. You can't swap characters mid-mission because this is Comrades, but what you can do instead is have a full team of 4 real people play one of each member, which is so badass. Similar to the episode DLCs though, everyone here has been preset and pre-balanced, so you don't have control of, you don't have your own levels and stats for this, because I think you'd really break it in half if you could. But it is pretty cool to have like a full gang of 4, like someone going around parrying everyone as Gladio, someone doing AoEs as Ignis or ganging up on them with the fire attacks, someone with a rocket launcher in the back with Prompto, and then finally like Noct warp striking and doing his usual business in the middle. As I shot a rocket straight into the back of Gladio's head there. Oh shit. The enemies here are pretty tough, but not that bad. Like, they're built to keep in mind that you could be playing it with friends, and they also kind of build it to keep in mind you've got Gladio. Because Gladio, with his parry move and like the 4 times damage bonus and all that shit, kind of breaks this in half. And then Iggy's probably your second most powerful, then Prompto, then Noct. But as you're going to see, we're now playing as Ignis, and that's why this actually took me quite a while. It was probably the most amount of effort I've ever put into a video. I had to do this mission 4 times. I had to do this mission once with Prompto, once with Ignis, once with Gladio, and once with Noctis. So every time it transitions to black and transitions back up to show a new objective, I'm playing as a new character, so then everyone gets to be shown off. But this is the second part. This truck will be blocked by enemies at several points during the journey. You have to just defend it from getting destroyed. It's very forgiving in this. Like in the main Comrades, there's some like defend the objective missions that are really evilly strict. Like the most infamous one is defending the house. Like there's like the hardest defending the house mission, which I think is just called like Defend the Fort 2 or something silly like that. It like spawns these giant slimes at the end, and slimes have corrosive energy around them that just hurts the building naturally. The little time you have to kill it is so stupid. It's like, why did you make it like this? It's not balanced at all. You can have a full team max level and you still fucking fail it if you just don't get lucky. The only reason I won it is because I was with an AI, and one of the slimes somehow spawned directly on top of the AI, and the AI freaked out and ran away. And so the slime was moved very far away from the building so it didn't corrode it. But these guys aren't too bad with how powerful Iggy is. Yeah, as you probably just noticed as well there, this doesn't obey episode Ignis's rule. Your damage multiplier will still empty out even outside of combat, because everything in this mission is considered in combat technically. Also, the theme that plays Comrades, the most disappointing thing about all of this is that this didn't get released with Soundtrack Volume 2. Because we did get a Soundtrack Volume 2 that had all the episodes, Royal Edition, and a few of the extra tracks in it, but Comrades, this theme, Departure, wasn't in it. And it's such a shame because it mixes in Gladio's theme, Prompto's theme, Ignis' theme, Noctis' theme, the Comrades theme as a whole. It's such a fucking amazing theme. Like right now it's playing the remix of episode Ignis, it's playing Ignis' theme, which is kind of the main reason why I decided to do Ignis second, because I knew it'd be around the time it would end up playing. But it's just, this is such a fucking brilliant track. I know I swear too much about it, but it's so good. The soundtrack as a whole is brilliant, and I'm half tempted to shut up just for a bit whilst this plays out so you can listen to it, because it's so good. This thing ends up taking a little bit longer to kill than I thought it would be. Like, you'd have thought, like, 4 times damage with Ignis. I suspected I was going to rip through this thing's HP, but I just don't. It just ends up taking a little longer, and I was like, huh, okay. And I think this is the first time you're going to see me use quick recipe. Yeah, I use it right here, and it actually ends up working. Because the way it works is he'll literally make a quick recipe on the spot. And depending on what 3 actions he does, depends on what it does. If he does any action twice, it will be a failure, and you'll get a nerf and everything instead of a buff. But thankfully I did get a cooking buff, so we are in a better fighting condition right now. Which I'm very grateful for. It's also the longest amount of invincibility frames you can get in the game. You use it, you're completely invincible during the entire animation of it. So you can use it for as a long-winded dodge if you need it. Although it is quite risky, like sometimes it's just better to use 3 high jumps, so you don't have to worry about suffering a nerf on the other side of it, than use quick recipe. But it's nearly dead now. I even use overclock to try and get it done at the end. There we go. And in a second you're going to see another fade to black, and when it comes back, we're going to be playing as our next character.
Really takes you back, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's good to hear how much they've grown. As Umbra continues to run ahead. And our next place is that little hut there, like the bottom center of the screen now. That hut there. And we'll be defending it with, when it loads, we'll be, oh, for God's sake, we'll be defending it as Gladiolus. Who's the best man for the job, really, in this sort of thing. Okay, that was a bit persona-y from you, Prompto. Let's show them the power of friendship and teamwork, yeah! This is probably the easiest section of the bunch as any character, because the shock troopers are very slow, so you can catch up to them quite quickly. And the slimes don't spawn too close to the house, so you have enough time to react and get over and defend it. But then saying that, when I was going through it as Noctis, who, spoilers, is the only other character we haven't played as in this section, so it's next, I did nearly fail it because I've been working with AI partners on this. I didn't have a full team helping me out, so I had to be a bit careful with how I handled it, and it did end up taking a lot more of a punishment than it probably should have. But when you deal with these initial 32 enemies, you don't have to really worry about the hut, because the next enemies that spawn very far away and are more focused on you than the target. And that was me just trying to get a free rage bonus off the explosion. But I timed it poorly, so I only got a basic bonus. And also, since this is all played online, you don't get the slowdown when using certain attacks. It doesn't go into slow motion when you use certain attacks. It won't go into slow motion if I do a perfect parry. So be aware of that it might throw off your timing slightly if you're not used to it. And you're going to see me try and bait out a lot of parries with this section as well, just because I know what's next. When these 32 die, the last robots that spawn, the last enemies that spawn, are quite powerful, and so I wanted to go in with like rage times 4, sprint over, and then immediately use something like Maelstrom. And it's easy trying to bait it out, but it ends up just doing damage to the building, so I'll move on. But seriously, this entire track, this entire mission, is just such a lovely little love letter I felt to people who loved this game, who enjoyed it. Because now it's being able to play as the whole team in a mission crammed full of little things that you've done throughout Comrades or throughout the adventure, with music that's a reference to everything you've done, and it's online so you can play it as whoever you want with your favourite character for the whole mission with your friends. It's such a cool, fun idea. And I don't mind it's the fact it's a one-off. As much as, yeah, I'd absolutely love if they made it so you could play as the crew whenever you wanted online. I completely understand their decision to make it like this, and it works perfectly fine in my book. It's amazing. As Iggy's theme kicks in again. And it's also like one of the last parts where there's no cutscene, so I get to talk through it the whole way through. And these are the last 3 enemies. These big giant-ass robots. And every time Noctis warp strikes, it lets you know, because of Noctis being coded not to not too dissimilarly to the comrade characters, to the Kingsclaves. And in the normal comrades, every time you warp strike, it lets your rest of your team know that you're using MP for a warp strike. Same as you can use R2 to send messages. It's easy to deal with this smaller robot first because it stomps around a lot, and the stomp is easy to time for the build up parries as Gladio. If you're playing this as anyone else, I could still kind of recommend going for this guy first just to save the hassle. But if you're going with Noctis, you will be taking a long time with it, because it does take a while. The reason why this video is longer than it probably should be is because Prompto's section takes... not Prompto's, Noctis' section takes a small eternity. Because he's just not that strong compared to his teammates. This really highlights, I feel, just how weak Noctis is in comparison to Gladio, Prompto and Ignis. Because he is the hardest character to use for this mission. Especially offline, or like with AI components even. Got ya. You can completely destroy the robot's foot. You can like destroy the ankle piece, but if you manage to destroy the foot piece, they'll never get up. Like that. Now this guy's never getting up. Which I think is pretty cool, that you can permanently cripple them like that. But the next one I go for is the fucking rockets, because they're a pain in the arse. There they go. And then at this point, this is pretty much just a sit and duck. There's hardly anything it can do. So I just wail on it until it says its final piece. Which is a shame, because I'm only doing base damage at this point, but it eventually goes down. There's not much I can really say on this. There we go, it's dead now. And by the time I get over there, the rest of the team managed to kill this thing. Well, it wasn't even really a part of that confrontation. That's not the last robot, and they just murdered it.
I thought I was a goner. Thank you.
Yay! And now on to the final section. So finally we have the king himself as this final piece. All you're doing for this is following Umbra and killing everything in its path. But at the end is a boss fight.
Talcott was raring to tag along.
Well, he is a hunter in his own right.
That I think is kind of cool that they mentioned that Talcott wanted to go along. It feels like yesterday it was only a child. Well, yeah, but for the player it pretty much is. If you've been racing through the plot, it pretty much is, because it's just a 10-year jump. But this section at the front isn't too bad for Noctis, but you do, like I said, you do kind of get a feel for it. And the equipment they give him is kind of weird. Like for this, like they give him a sword, a shield, a spear, and a machine. And I mean, it's the only time you're going to see me in the game use a machine weapon. But it's still kind of like, why not give him a royal arm? Like they should have really given him something like the Sword of the Father. Like I can understand them not giving him the ring, because the ring's way too powerful and it would break this mission in half. But a royal arm, no, I think they should have let him have it.
Don't worry, I got this.
Just make sure it's a royal arm that everyone must have, like a one that you get in the plot and you're set. Like the Sword of the Father. Because not everyone gets the Weapon of the Fierce or the tool and whatnot. Not some people just can't be bothered, or they just decide I'll do it post game or whatever. And here we have a demon wall. Which really doesn't stand a chance at this point. Yeah, look at that thing, the poor fucker. To be fair, this section is probably the easiest with Prompto, because the demon wall can't do much when you're quite a distance away from it. Also, it looks like it's using like the tail of its body as a weapon to whip around sometimes. It's kind of weird how this thing is structured and works. I'm not really sure how they decided to design it. And the demon wall is very different to how usually demon walls work in this series, because usually they move the wall with them, like in on you usually to crush. Yeah, but this guy just stays, is just a demon that comes through the wall. But there's not much else I can say. That's the problem, is that a lot of the enemies here are enemies we fought before. It's just now you get to do it online with buds, and that's the coolest thing about it. but you're still fighting a lot of enemies you fought before. The only thing worth saying at the end is the boss fight, its name is a lie. Because, slight spoilers, at the end we fight a King Behemoth. Yeah, it doesn't have the King Behemoth's moveset. It instead has the... Oh, forget what it's called now, I have to quickly check. Right, I quickly cut my audio and checked, it's the Kaiser Behemoth. But it has the Kaiser Behemoth's moveset, not the King Behemoth. And although the design between the two is near identical, the moveset difference is that the Kaiser specializes and prioritizes ice-based attacks, whilst the King doesn't. The King's the King, baby. It just does what it wants. But the Kaiser, although is very powerful, specializes ice, and this one specializes ice, yet it's called a King, so they got it wrong. Up here we do have a couple Ronins to fight as well, so be wary of that. Like, if this whole journey hasn't been enough to warn you that these guys are not to be fucked with, like, I don't know what else to really tell you. Because they have instant kill properties, they have dark magic, they have so much against you that if you're not ready for them, they will murder you. And since this is based in Comrades, you have the normal food system that works in Comrades. So if you die, you'll consume a food, whatever food item you have with you, and you'll have to find another one, because if you die again, it'll kick you out. Which does happen in this. Little later on, we get taken out, and I have to go hunt down another food item quickly to save my neck, because coming up ahead is that Kaiser Behemoth that's misnamed. But we're nearly there. There he is. As we sprint over to him. Come on. We're ready for you. We're really not ready for him. Come on, Behemoth King. Or not, the King Behemoth. The biggest thing about the design that makes King Behemoth, or the Kaiser by proxy, more intimidating are the fucking wings. Look at them, they're huge, and they've got muscles on the wings as well. Like, I don't think this guy can fly because he's just way too heavy, but it's the fact that he has them in the first place. Oh no, he can fly, that shuts me up. Well, it's just okay, so it's just a giant, like, monster that can fly now. Okay, Nate, thanks. And this guy does have a lot of health. And like I said, this fight against this guy is the rest of the part, so the next 4 and a bit minutes is just us fighting the Kaiser Behemoth, which I'm going to continue to refer it to as because it's got the Kaiser's moveset. It's frozen over the arena. That's what the Kaiser does, not what King does. It's a fucking lie, I tell you. But you're going to see us get absolutely fucking battered around during this, as you can now see. And we can't pick ourselves up because we're not allowed to use items. If you press what would usually be the item, it brings up your text box. And there is a death. And it's, saying we're joining the fray in 20 seconds. It will be the same with Iggy as well, because Iggy died in the same blow. So we'll both be getting up in 20 seconds. I go get another food piece. The AI, I don't think Iggy does, so he doesn't go down again before, at the end, so it's fine. But you're going to see me book it over to a food item very quickly. Because it also gives you a full heal when you use it. It's a little hard to find it though, you know, the arena being frozen over, but I managed to get some fish. Not that it matters, because this is just a one-off mission. You don't then eat something at the end of this. The food is literally just for your survivability. It doesn't matter for the end mission ranking sort of thing. But we're nearly there. Shame we can't really see much. Thanks Behemoth. It's really, I'm really happy that you had to do that. Also, in this section, Noctis has the ground recovery, because it presets what AP skills, like what ascension skills you'd have, and one of the ones it presets you with is the ground recovery. So Noctis isn't the only one left out. If you tap square the moment you slam the ground off of being knocked down, you will not lose any health and get up immediately, which is really handy for how underpowered Noctis is. They really should have given him everything. Oh, he's still got so much health. Like, it doesn't feel like we've been fighting him for a couple minutes already. And although you don't have a potion, if you hold L2 and triangle, it will say use curative spell, but the animation is him using a potion. It's just a potion with range. He doesn't actually use cure. They just borrowed the animation. But I guess whilst we're waiting for this fight to burn out, I can talk about a few other things surrounding Final Fantasy 15, and that's how much is left. And that's not much. The rest of the game is recorded, and the finale is part 44. Yes, and we're on 39. We've really not got much left. Next week, assuming I can keep up the normal upload schedule I've been keeping for the past few weeks, next week will be the last week and we'll finish the game. So we managed to get it done mid-November. Well, I say it'll be done November 12th, 14th. Assuming it all goes down to the normal upload schedule and there's no inconveniences. Which is really surprising because although like I said we've been making a huge push for it and the upload schedule has become a lot more consistent ever since like part 11. It's still the matter of the fact I didn't expect to have this done like this year, and now it's almost definitely finishing this year, and that's sort of mind-boggling to me because I can't stress enough how much effort I've put into this Let's Play. I've never put more effort into anything on this channel in my life. None of the reviews, nothing. It's just this has been a bit of a work ethic. It's been a bit of a proper commitment to it, and it's the reason why it's the only thing I'm really doing right now if I'm not enjoying a bit of Red Dead in my spare time, because I've really been working my arse off on it. It's the reason why I haven't finished Red Dead 2 yet, because I'm usually editing a lot of this and making sure everything's together the way I want it to be, and putting in a lot of little touches to make sure it's all in continental sense. It all makes sense in the continuity. He's nearly dead. He's finally dead. He's not dead yet. Come on, there we go. And as soon as he dies, the ice like faded for a second there. Did you see it? And then it went into slow motion and came back briefly. But that's it. Next time on Final Fantasy 15, we're entering Insomnia because now we're at the final campsite. And rather fittingly, the campsite is where we first looked on back at Insomnia at near the end of Chapter 1 to find out what was going on. And we got that phone call from Core. But until then, you guys take care now.